Auburn Terminal District. Would everyone please rise? Dear Lord, we ask your blessing on the board and port and people whose livelihood depends upon it. We ask you guide this board and our decisions that they are for the good of those we serve. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Lorenzo, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The public comment procedure. The board encourages public comments and questions regarding all agenda items. Persons wishing to do so should complete a speaker's card, which is at the entrance of the boardroom. When speaking or asking a question on an agenda item, one should, in addition to completing the card, come to the microphone, be recognized, provide your name, address, and phone number. Comments by individuals will be limited to 3 minutes. First item is minutes of the July 26th regular meeting.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the July 26, 21 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Darbone moves.
I'll second.
I have a second from Mr. Lorenzi. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carried. Submission 2021-032, authorizing addendum number 11 to the real estate lease option agreement with Lake Charles Methanol, LLC. Mr. Self.
Yes, Mr. President. Lake Charles Methanol has requested an extension of their real estate option agreement for the facility on the west side of the ship channel, just south of our BT1 facility. They requested the extension through July 31 of 2022 and would continue the $35,000 per month option payment. And we have Linda Miller with Lake Charles Methanol that would like to give us an update on the project.
Okay, if I could get a motion to bring it to the floor.
So moved.
Mr. Dixon moves. Mr. Eason seconds. Discussion. Ms. Miller, would you like to speak?
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. We last asked for an extension in December of last year, and at that time we were very confident that we were going to be able to raise equity, and I'm happy to report that we have been successful in doing that, and we have signed a letter of intent with I2, who is a company out of Miami, Florida, that manages about $14 billion of investments, and they are going to provide $500 million of the $800 million that we need. What we needed before was the lead. Morgan Stanley has probably enough private wealth individuals in hand to fund the rest, or I2's limited partners might join in. So having that equity commitment is a real move forward for the project. Additionally, in the change to the Biden administration, the DOE has a new loan program officer. His name is Sugar Shaw. He is a developer. He understands our project and really likes it. The DOE has given us an extension through the same date that we have asked you all for an extension. We wanted to mirror that. So they continue to be a real support of the project. We continue to evolve our carbon capture and sequestration plans, which will also be of benefit to the region. We're talking to 4 different groups, some of which have appeared before the I think it's Division of Mines, and asking for permission to negotiate on state land for carbon sequestration activities. We have 4.5 million tons of CO2. If we, once the project is done, we'll be the largest carbon capture and sequestration project in the world that we know of. The one thing is holding us back is we were, Fluor was going to build the project, and we went back to them and say, okay, we're ready to go. And they said, well, we've had some problems on other projects, and our credit rating has gone down, and we cannot do any fixed price work. So that was not good news. However, we are negotiating with two other companies, very highly rated companies and well-known, Bechtel and Kiewit, both of whom are finishing projects in this area already. I think Kiewit is doing Venture Global. And so they are very anxious to keep the people on site, and they're very interested in the project. But it's going to delay things for a few months, and that's why we need the extension through July of next year. But we're hearing a lot of good things from other people that Kiewit and Bechtel are both hungry for work. So we feel pretty good that we'll be able to do that. Methanol prices are still good. We still continue to move toward a blue economy, that is stressing environmental aspects of commodities. And so I think continue to believe that this will be a great project for you all. So are there any questions? Yes.
Just had a quick comment. I know this project has been going on for a pretty long period of time. And if I'm not mistaken, the acquisition of the equity side of the equation has been one of the largest obstacles on moving forward. And I think I heard you say that is now in place.
It is now in place, and we even had a call. We were concerned that with the delay, would they still be interested, but they have continued to express interest and actually participated in a call with Bechtel last week to indicate their continued support of the project. Once they said, their stylists, once they choose a project, then they are very much in support of that and trying to work. They only pick 10 projects a year, and once they choose one, they are very supportive of it, and they work with the sponsors to make it happen.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I took a look at the methanol price, and it appears to be above the historical average right now.
Yes. It's probably in the high 370s over time. The average has been 350. So I think when we talked about it last December, it was in the process of rebounding from the effects of the pandemic, but it had stayed strong all this year.
That's all I.
Mr. Director, how is that going to affect the Port Lake Charles?
As far as the option payment, it's a very solid, and I would consider it high, relatively high option payment, so it'll be very good for the port to receive that. The project-wise, it'll be an excellent project for the port. It'll create a lot of jobs for Southwest Louisiana, and the revenue for handling the import of the pet coke and the export of the methanol, once the project's complete, will be really positive for the port.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the extension.
Okay, we already have the motion and the
Okay.
second, so if there's no other questions, we'll vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Submission 2021-033, authorizing a servitude agreement with Entergy and an amendment to the Lake Charles LNG lease agreement. Mr. Self?
Yes, Mr. President, Entergy's requested a permanent servitude on a 6-acre site where the footprint of which the substation will be located. They've also will utilize about a 2-acre site for the transmission line, the routing of which we're still working on. Overall, it's about an 8-acre footprint if you consider the transmission line route. It would involve a one-time payment of $258,000. This is just north of the existing Lake Charles LNG, Trunkline LNG terminal, proposed Lake Charles LNG export terminal on Big Lake Road. It would also involve, the reason it involves Lake Charles LNG is because Lake Charles LNG currently has that under a long-term lease. And so once we provide that servitude to Entergy, it will involve releasing Lake Charles LNG of those acres.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Ms. McClary moves.
Second.
Mr. Darbone, second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. Submission 2021-034, approving the Lake Charles Harbor and Terminal District Strategic Master Development Plan. Mr.
Excuse me.
Self.
Yes, sir. On July 26th, at the July 26th board meeting, John Martin presented, along with Meyer and Associates, the strategic plan. The port received the document, the strategic plan, along with the presentation at that meeting. There were no changes, and we're requesting the board accept the strategic plan as presented by John Martin and Meyer at the July meeting. And we have John Martin available if you do have questions for him via conference call.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Mr. Dixon, a move.
Second.
Mr. Eason, second. Discussion or questions?
I have a question, Mr.
Ms. McClary?
So, for staff that's here, what happens next with this, once we've adopted it?
Sure. There are aspects of the strategic plan that we are currently underway, some of which include the transit shed. In fact, one of the submissions coming up right now, I think it's the next one, is transit shed 8 through 14. It will be, and it was included in the strategic plan as something we needed to undertake. So we're going to go through the strategic plan. Some of the proposed items or alternatives. So create open storage space via this, or this. And so we're looking at those alternatives to decide which one would be the best route for the port to take. But we're certainly going to go through the plan itself and proceed with, and we didn't really have any disagreements as I recall. Todd, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. There were some of the alternatives we disagreed with, like we're not going to tear down transit shed 16 and 17. Those are leased, long-term leased transit sheds, but we're certainly going to go through it and do what we can to accomplish what was involved with it.
And so I thought that the report was pretty sobering when it comes to business development and some of the current cargoes that we have that are in decline, not just at the Port of Lake Charles, but globally, and suggestions that we consider other products that we are currently not, other cargo that we're not considering now. So how would that plan be put together? What's the?
Yeah, one of the
vision on
recommendations
that?
was to pursue, as one example, wood chips. One was additional windmill blades, a marshaling yard for wind energy. We're going to have to pursue those. The wood, excuse me, the wood chip manufacturing. We're in a really good area for that, considering there's so much, I guess, capacity north of Lake Charles. And we have seen, and based on discussions with a couple of the different wood chip exporters, they're moving, they're kind of migrating toward the west. They're currently in Alabama, Mississippi area, and they have an interest in moving here. We've initiated some calls with them. I'm trying to think, what some of the other recommendations, Terrence? Do you have any? I'm trying to remember all of them. I don't remember specifically each one of the recommendations, but we're certainly going to pursue them.
We looked at the wood chips, but there wasn't really an option for Lake Charles because we didn't have enough volume from Lafayette to Lake Charles. And Viva was a company we looked at for the wood chips, wood pellets. And they're currently building a facility in Pascagoula. They said they will look west in Mississippi sometime in 2025.
So I guess specifically to answer your question, we're going to go through the recommendations and certainly pursue every angle. One of them involved clear span warehouse construction in an effort to attract wood, paper, and pulp. Some of that is currently going to the west of here. That's some ports to the west on the Gulf, and we'll certainly be pursuing some of that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. I just think it's something that should be a regular agenda item from time to time so that we don't just do it and then, and certainly on the construction, thanks to a couple of hurricanes, you know, that's all moving ahead, and John agreed with our plans for that. But on the marketing side, I just want to make sure we're kind of looking at all of those possibilities, and, you know, it's,
Yeah, and Darren's corrected me. I kept saying wood chips is wood pellets. I apologize.
Terrence, would you mind just repeating what you said about the wood chips? I couldn't hardly hear you, and I don't know if it's that mic you got or
One
not.
of the recommendations from the plan was that we pursue wood chips, but we looked at that and there's not enough volume going to Lake Charles and Lafayette. The other areas, New Orleans, and I think it was in Alabama, they already service their customer base. So the other option that he gave us was the wood pellets. And there is a company looking to move west of the Mississippi in 2025. If we had a conference call with them, they know who we are, what we have, and we invite them down to visit the port to show our facilities to them.
Thanks.
Any other questions? No other questions. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. Resolution, submission rather, 2021-035, a resolution authorizing Lake Charles Harbor Terminal District to enter into a replacement agreement with Louisiana DOTD under the Port Construction and Development Priority for assistance in implementing port improvement projects and provide the necessary documentation, port improving and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Self?
Yeah, well, this is a normal process that we're required to go through with any ports priority projects, which this is one of them. It involves demolishing the smaller back warehouses at City Docks, numbers 8 through 14, and constructing a new modern clear span warehouse. That's one of the recommendations from the strategic plan. It will allow us to enter into this agreement with ports priority. We can pursue construction and request reimbursement from ports priority program as funding becomes available through the program.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve, Mr. President.
Mr. Darbone moves. Second. Second by Mr. Lorenzi. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carried. Submission 2021-036, accepting the best value proposal, entering into a contract with Burke's Cirtwell for the procurement of one new traveling import hopper for BT1. An amendment and approve an amendment to the 2021 capital budget. Mr. Self?
Yes, we received proposals for a traveling import hopper at BT1. The prior unloader that we had prior to Hurricane Laura had a hopper attached to it. And so whenever the unloader would unload cargo, it would basically put the commodity in the hopper and either be loaded into a truck, if it was bay right, or be loaded onto the conveying system for rutile. Obviously, that got damaged and destroyed during Hurricane Laura. The board allowed us to purchase a mobile harbor crane in December of last year. We have no hopper at this point. Right now, as they unload rutile or unload barite, they're putting it on the dock. Requires a front end loader to load it from there. And so this will allow us to more efficiently handle those cargoes, rutile and barite. And it also involves, it's something was not, obviously not budgeted, so a cost of about $2.7 million, which is an amendment to the capital budget for 2021.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move to adopt submission 2021-036.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Prudham.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lorenzi. Any discussion, questions? No questions. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. Submission 2021-037, authorizing the executive director to accept the guaranteed maximum price and award a Seymour contract with Bow Brothers Construction LLC for the construction of verse 2 and 3 rehabilitation at City Docks.
Yes, sir. This is for berth 2 and 3. We are requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with Bow Brothers for the guaranteed max price. This project is a CMAR project, which is the construction manager at risk. And along with any of the CMAR projects, the engineer and the contractor work side by side to come up with that guaranteed max price. They've developed a cost of about $32.1 million. 15 million of which has been budgeted for 2021. If you look at the source of funds, it's 23.4 million from the port, 8.7 million of course priority. This project, if you look at berth 2 and 3 along the apron is actually really strong, about 1,000 pounds per square foot. The floor under where training sheds 2 and 3 were previously located is not very strong at all. And essentially they handle cargoes that are handled today. This is a project that's going to be essential if we're going to continue to operate as a port. It will increase the floor strength to basically 1,000 pounds per square foot, and will also allow us to use any kind of mobile hauler cranes or equipment where the existing floor of 2 and 3 was.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Dixon
I'll
moves.
second it.
Mr. Darbone second. Any discussion?
I have a discussion on it. Just, can we get about a 30-year payout on this?
I'm not sure they would accept that.
Yeah, a little low interest, I'm talking about.
Zero interest, huh?
0 interest, yeah, it would work out.
Nick's not here. I've got a couple of questions that maybe.
He's available by phone.
Yeah, he's on the call.
He's on the call with us.
Okay. You there, Nick?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. This type of procedure is kind of a shared risk project, correct? Shared.
Yes, sir, we try to identify all the risk ahead of time. That way we can, like you said, we can share in the risk. The contractor tries to identify and take on everything ahead of time, and we try to eliminate as much as possible.
Okay. In going through the exceptions in Bow Brothers' letter, which, of course, this is always a biggie in construction, they've not included any cost for removal of unidentified underground obstructions, which is definitely an unforeseen that could possibly be additional cost to the port. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, you were breaking up slightly, but it sounds like talking about the underground obstructions. That for us would be the big item that we can see that would be the risk for us popping up under this construction, just because the amount of repairs that have been made to that dock over the years. There's numerous piles that were added and various things that could be under there from 1926 to now.
Then the other one is, which won't be known until it's taken down, is the tie rods, if they're going to be able to be reused for the tieback system. That's another possible add-on to their cost in the event that they're not usable or in good condition.
Yes, sir, and that's one we actually, Bow Brothers identified a price per item for us, so we have a unit cost. That way, if it is something we have to go in there and reattach them as we go, we do have that cost broken out, so it's already identified if needed.
Okay, yeah, I see that. It's item 1R. I guess the biggest one that could potentially be a big risk to the port is when you get to the concrete parts of it. Precast panels, caps, and dock structures should not change regardless of what the length of the piles are. Is that a correct assumption? So that number should be pretty firm?
Yes, sir, that should be pretty firm. Our layout for the pile caps and piles themselves is pretty well set, just because the existing timber piles that are there, and we're having to work around them. So we don't foresee those big line items changing.
And that's like almost 16 million of the 30 million. And the other one, I guess, goes back to your test piles. How many test piles were done before y'all came up with the final length of the piles and design?
Yes, sir, exactly. So the test pile program was done early, so we don't expect any piles lengths to change. We actually were able to go back and restrike those test piles and confirm those lengths pretty well at this point.
So you're pretty comfortable, because that's one item that they did say that they could adjust their price, if they have to adjust the lengths of the piling, and that's $8.5 million of the cost. So that, any adjustment on that item could be substantial.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We're very confident on those.
Okay. I think that's, oh, what is the design dredge depth in front of it once it's completed? Maximum dredge depth?
So because we're leaving the existing apron out front, we're not modifying the dredge depth. So right now, it's permitted to a -37.
So even after spending $30+ million, we'll still be obstructed to the -37 on those, in that area?
Yes, sir, and that's all due to the existing apron is staying in place, and, you know, we're working all behind that at that point.
I got you. Okay. I have no other questions. Any other questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. Submission 2021-038, authorizing executive director to enter into an agreement with South Louisiana Rail Facility for the loading of vessels at the turning basin. Mr. Self?
Yes, this was an agreement that Mr. Poussaint, I think Mark is here from the rail facility, has come to the port and asked to be able to load bulk rice vessels at that facility, and he's available for any questions you may have.
I have a motion to adopt this resolution.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Narbone moves. Second. Mr. Prudham, second.
I have some, couple of questions I'd like to ask.
Okay, Mr. Eason?
You know, if I understand correctly, what we're proposing here is something that we already have a facility that can handle this type of cargo here on port property as we speak. Is that correct?
Yes, we conduct business at the bulk loading terminal. We approached the terminal about doing this business. The business model for barges and the tariffs from the current facility don't line up in the business model for barge operations, and thus needing to look for another avenue.
You know, because I guess looking at this facility, I know that it's been out there, you know, it's about a $30 million investment, if I'm not mistaken, with some state support on it. And I'm pretty certain they use local labor on that also. You know, so certainly what's one question I have is I don't want to hurt our local labor force.
Yeah, we've already solicited from Sonic Stevedores, who is owned by the owners of IFG, to conduct our loading.
And probably the thing that's probably got my attention more than anything is this is an LLC. This is an LLC, South Rail.
South Louisiana Rail Facility, yes. Some 200 farmers in southwest Louisiana.
So
a few in
it's
East.
200 members, I guess?
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm familiar with an LLC structure because I do that myself. You know, it's typically a capital investment, you know, to be a member. I guess my question is, I don't know who these 200 members are. And I'd like to have Mr. Ringo kind of chime in here because, you know, one of the things we have under our fiduciary duty is, I mean, I have no earthly idea if one of my passive investments is a member of your LLC. I don't know who they are. There's 240, I think you said?
212.
You know, and so I'm going into this blind voting, and I could be creating a conflict of interest for myself, or anybody on this board could have that same issue.
Yeah, I certainly don't know who the owners are, but all I know is that if, as a board member, you cannot be in any way interested in a contract we enter into as a board. You guys know that, you've been through the trainings. So I don't know your ownership interests or your personal financial situations at all. So I come into these situations assuming that you all do not have any conflict. So if we can, we can certainly request the owners of this facility, but I don't know them offhand.
I mean, that's the only way I guess I could answer the question to myself is to know who they are. You know, right now I don't know that. You know, that conceivably could create a conflict for me.
I certainly don't.
Can we just ask the question right here? I don't have any interest in it.
sorry,
I don't have any interest in it,
any ownership, is that?
in any ownership of it, yes. I don't. Does anybody else on the board?
I mean, like I said, I have passive investments in LLCs. I have no earthly idea if they are one of your 240 members. I'd be guessing. You know, that's kind
I have an interest in it, and I also have an opinion from the Ethics Commission that there's no conflict in doing business through the Port of Lake Charles and marketing my crop.
so y'all, you're a member? Is that what I heard?
I'm sorry. You own part of this facility?
I am one of the 200 members that he's speaking of.
Okay.
And I have an opinion from ethics in regards to, because we also market through the IFG facility. So I requested an opinion 2 years ago from ethics in regard to marketing my product through the Port of Lake Charles. And the response I got was that because of my such small interest and the fact that I had no control over the 200 members and the fact that it was basically third-party contracts on selling the product, that there was not a conflict.
Okay. I'm happy to look into it, and I certainly will before we sign it. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
I mean, I could have a conflict, but I just don't know who the members are.
Right.
You know, and that's a concern for me.
Yeah, I'll look, I remember the ethics opinion. I'll look at it and make
Yeah,
sure.
and
But
I think I made you aware of it when I got it.
oh, no, I remember it. I just don't know if that situation is the same as this one, but I'll check
Well,
it.
before it's actually signed into ink, then
Executed.
we need to clarify.
Certainly. Yes. I'll have that question answered, yeah.
Is there anybody else on the board that has an interest in it?
Because the,
So, could I follow up on that?
Yes, ma'am.
So is, in cases such as that, where there is an interest, again, assuming, maybe that's never arisen previously, Mr. Ringo, or maybe not in your dealings with the board, but what is the procedure that takes place? Is that person abstain? Do they?
no, so there's, the law prohibits any board member from being in any way interested in a contract that comes before their jurisdiction. That I know. I know Mr. Carrillo got an ethics opinion related to the IFG facility, so I don't know, I'll need to look into that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know coming in that we had an issue where there was ownership of this actual entity from a member on the board, so I'll need to look into that. Because that's different than third-party contractors shipping through the IFG facility.
Correct.
I'm happy to look into it. But what would happen is, and there's no abstaining, because it would create a conflict of interest. So there would be, divest yourself of your interest in that entity, if there is a conflict. And I'm not saying there is, but if there is, you'd have to divest yourself of your interest or resign from the board. That's the two options that the ethics board has put out in their legal. But again, I don't know, and I'm not saying there is or there isn't one way or the other.
No,
I have
I
not looked at it.
understand. This has just been sprung on you, so I'm
Yeah,
not.
pop quizzes
I
are
mean,
always fun.
I've taken ethics training for 20 years. I should be able to recite this, but,
Yeah.
so would it be proper at this time then to perhaps come back at a subsequent meeting when that's been researched, so in an abundance of caution, or?
That would be my advice. You guys, it's the pleasure of the board. I mean, certainly we will not enter into a contract without this issue being fully researched by me. And if we need to get an opinion on that, then that'll require action of the board as well.
I would make a motion that we defer this at this time, pending some type of, I don't know if it's your opinion or the ethics board opinion or whoever, but I think as a board, we want to be sure that we are on stable ground with that. Has nothing to do with the project, with Mr. Poussin, with our chairman, but I just think that we need to take a closer look at it
Probably an ethics
this
opinion is
time.
probably what you would need.
Well, I'll
see.
settle it real quick. If it's a problem, I'll divest my interest, because my interest is so minuscule to the impact this is going to have on the farming community.
That would do
It's
it.
a nothing, it's a non-event to me, so I'll say that right here in this public meeting. If it's an issue, I'm going to divest myself of it. Now, whether we can vote on it tonight is a different story, but
That's the pleasure of the board. But certainly, that would solve it.
So if that's the case, can we continue to move forward with this? Because this is about jobs that's being created for us to,
So I think I made a motion to
Yeah.
defer.
Yeah, and I'll second her motion.
we have a motion from Ms. McClary to defer and seconded by Mr. Dixon. Any discussion on that motion?
I'd like to request a roll call
I
vote
mean,
on this one.
the trap's been set, and I think
Yeah.
you should divest yourself first. And
Yeah, I think that's.
What trap are you talking about?
the issue's been raised, and I think better bet is to pass
Divest.
the motion and make it a clean vote.
So where are we at in here?
Mr. Easton requested a roll call.
Yeah, I don't know, what do we vote?
There's a motion
Voting
to,
on the motion to
defer.
defer.
Make a motion to table.
right,
Motion to
and
table.
it's been
Well,
seconded.
Defer to a subsequent meeting. I don't know if that's the same thing perhaps,
It
but
is.
that we not vote on it, the contract tonight.
How long do you think this would take to get an opinion?
It won't take 5 minutes because I'm going to divest myself of the interest before we vote on it. I won't have any ownership.
Well,
Yeah, so that would solve the
But
problem.
that'd be at a subsequent meeting if this motion passes. Any other discussion on the motion to table?
There's from what I understand, there's a list of people, a waiting list of people who want to buy in. So there should be no problem
Okay.
to have someone buy.
Can you divest yourself now and get in it tomorrow?
No.
Yeah.
So that's once you're out,
No,
you're out?
no, once I'm out, I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Dixon, our bylaws won't allow that. Once he's out, he's out. I can tell you that.
And there's there's actual farmers waiting to get in that want to be part of this, so it's not going to be an issue, so.
Well, I have just another question. It has to do, I had somebody tell me that they saw a large cloud go by. Does your unmilled rice cause a cloud of dust to fly?
We get monitored by DEQ air permits.
Cloud of dust.
I'm just questioning if somebody had seen it crossing the bridge, wanted to know where it came from. I asked the question and they said y'all had loaded some unmilled rice. And I'm just asking the question. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to do anything but just understand if there may be.
Last year, we loaded 175,000 tons, and I never heard of this issue.
Okay, all right. Well, it was one item. I didn't see it. Somebody told me
Yeah.
they saw it, okay? So I was just wondering if there was gonna be that, if there was some way that you could throw a little water on it or something.
No.
Get the dust down.
Is this, John, is this limited to just immediate family, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what it says. Hang on. Well, the board member, immediate, it's that language, immediate family, business of which you own a substantial part of. None of those things can have any interest in a contract that comes before the board. But it's the member, immediate family, and you know, that's the language that's in the ethics code, but I can get that for you if you'd like it.
And the only other question I have is that you have dealt with Mr. Krejci and the president of ILA on his workers.
Yeah, I've spoken to Sonic Stevedores about taking care of it.
Well, he had told me that, so I just wanted
Yeah.
to double check.
I mean, I don't know Mr. Gratian, but I know Philip, and that's who I
Okay.
dealt with. And that's who I also dealt with when I load the vessels.
There's your man, right
I
there.
just want to say one thing, just don't forget what y'all said in the meeting and what you said.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, once you get in there.
No, we're gonna do what we say we're gonna do.
Talk about it. Thank you too.
I'm sorry?
Thank you too for the local labor and
That was a big thing to me.
Any other discussion on the motion
The motion is on
to table
the table
That's correct.
until a later meeting.
till a later meeting?
Just tabled it.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
You can bring it up at any time when it's on the table. All right, you want a roll call vote, Mr. Eason? Okay.
Yes.
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 Abstain? I mean, yes.
No.
I'm getting a lot of looks. The chairman, you can't abstain as a board member, but the chairman does not have to vote unless it is necessary to break a tie. And I don't know what the count is.
So,
Let's see what the count is.
4 yes, 2 no. But I couldn't hear what Mr. Eason said. 4 yes, 2 no.
And that's on the motion to table.
Not,
Okay.
not that there's any problem with it, we're just trying to get this thing corrected here, and then we'll be back with it.
Okay, so the motion is tabled till later. Briefing notes, Cameron?
Yes, sir. We're going to start with the financial statements for the month ended July 2021. The port generated revenues of $3.1 million, which was basically in line with what we budgeted. The one factor that actually made it slightly favorable was one of the port's tenants didn't reach their minimum throughput, so they were invoiced for their amount, and it was partially offset by a retroactive lease adjustment for one of the port's tenants. Expenses were $3.5 million, which ended up being about $300,000 favorable, which is due primarily to some of the improvements in processes, some of the things that we've corrected or fixed since the hurricanes, and we expect that to continue to show favorable expenses as things get better, we improve, we get our newer equipment in. Non-operating revenues and expenses, we generated or ended up with expenses of $2.3 million, and that's unfavorable about $2.5 million, primarily due to the timing of our portion of the P3. EBITDA was $800,000, and cash flow was actually negative $1.5 million, again due to that payment to the P3. On the balance sheet, unrestricted cash and investments decreased $17.2 million. As we've seen in previous months, that's due to hurricane recovery payments, the property insurance premium, our reservation of the self-insured retention, and our payment to the P3. Restricted cash increased $10.2 million, again due to the P3 and our reservation of the self-insured retention. Trades accounts receivables, which I sent all of y'all to look through if y'all had any questions. That's a lot of that $3.2 million is due to the FEMA receivable, which was about $2.4 million as of now. Fixed assets increased $8 million, due primarily to multiple hurricane projects being completed, the mobile harbor crane, and some railroad trestle improvements. Construction in progress increased $800,000 due to hurricane projects underway, and as mentioned, those fixed assets are now being depreciated. Current liabilities increased $2.6 million, again due to the P3, that money we're holding on behalf of that. And then long-term debt decreased $1.2 million due to the payment of the principal on our bonds. The remaining balance sheets accounts did not change significantly. Do y'all have any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Cameron, on the minimum guarantee that offset some
Yes,
of the unfavorable stuff that's going into kind of a, it's not cash, it's going to be developed, it's going into kind of a holding account because of the litigation, correct?
It's a revenue, and it's basically a receivable as of right now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Administration, Finance, and Security, Cameron?
Yes, sir. One thing we've been working on is receiving some of our FEMA payments, obviously, and we actually just received our last payment for Hurricane Ike, a hurricane that hit in 2008. That was in the amount of around $223,000. So glad to finally get that and close that one out. And in early August, we actually opted into GoSEP's express payment system, which allows us to receive a portion of our payments before they final review everything, and we get, the full 90% that we're required to get. And as of today, this morning, actually, we received our first $60,000 for Hurricane Laura funds. So it's not much, but it's a start, and there actually already is some more pending. Glenn also wanted me to tell y'all, he's sorry he couldn't make it, but he wanted me to let y'all know there are currently 18 projects obligated, which once they're obligated, that's when GoSEP will start their review and we can receive money. So there's 18 projects currently obligated for an amount of, I believe it was $3.2 million. So of that $3.2 million, we could start to see portions of that coming in.
So obligated means, remind me.
Everything has gone through there's a FEMA system, and then it's got to go to GoSEP. So once everything's completed in the FEMA system, everything's approved. Glenn and Greg are reviewing everything, going through everything, and checking, make sure every dollar is there, every piece that needs to be there is done. Once it's done in there, it gets approved, sent through to GoSEP, and that's when it's obligated.
And is
and
his
then-
sense, once you start receiving payments, they kind of get going a little quicker? Or is there any?
It depends on the project. Some of them are small, some of them are large, so some of them take a little longer to review, but it really depends on the size of the project, how many times it has to be re-reviewed and sent through. So. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
No other questions. Navigation, Channing?
I'd like to bring you all up to date a little bit on what the industry's been doing. What the industry's been doing to get, thank you, prepared for hurricane season. Coast Guard District 8 has issued a marine safety information bulletin reminding the owners of these rigs that are stored in mothballs out in the Gulf that they have certain obligations, including to make sure that the rig is moored sufficiently to stand storm surge. If you remember last year, we had the same rig come over and visit us twice, sit down in the channel. It had to get pulled out and brought back to its original mooring station. Also, the Marine Safety Unit here in Lake Charles, which is the Coast Guard unit, has identified the owners of these rigs that are within their jurisdiction, have gotten points of contact and full phone numbers. So if for some reason we do have a rig impacting the channel, I'll be able to get a hold of these folks and get it moved quickly. The pilots and Corps have inventoried vessels along the ship channel that could become issues during a storm. They've turned the list over to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard's establishing points of contact and will contact those vessels' owners to have them secured if there's an approaching storm. Finally, the port just learned that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has programs for abandoned and derelict vessels. They provide some funding to have those things removed. We're looking at that to see whether or not somebody, I'm not saying the port would do this, but there would be some organization within the port, perhaps the Harbor Safety Committee, that could apply for this funding and be available to respond to these kinds of things. And these things happen all the time. We just had an incident the other day of a vessel in a turning basin, A4, which is around mile 28, I'm sorry, a little south of BT1. They were in there, they anchored, took on bunkers, pulled up the bunkers, and they had a cable, a 1-inch cable tied in, fouled in the anchor. So that's got to get removed. So these are the kinds of things that we could address with an outside source of funding, whether or not they're hurricane related.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I understand that y'all have confiscated beer out of trucks?
I'm sorry?
You have confiscated beer out of trucks?
That's on my report.
That would be, that, I
That's a
have not
security.
taken anybody's beer.
All right, wait a minute, I just want to know how they empty it, that's all.
How to do what?
How they empty the beer when they confiscate it?
I
Turn it
don't know.
upside down
I
and pour it
have
out.
not
Oh,
been
that's yours,
confiscating it
That's
or
all.
emptying
I
it.
got it right here in my departmental chanting, okay. How did they do that?
I guess they just poured it out and threw it
Oh.
away. It's
Okay,
at Harbor Police.
it was just curiosity. Thank you.
Any other questions about my report?
Well, I've got them listed on both sides here. I've got Channing's report on one, and I've got the tail end of, I guess.
As long as there's no beer on your vessels
No,
that
sir,
are
there
at
is
anchor
none.
out there.
Cameron's in charge of beer.
All right, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all. Thank you, Shannon. Operations, Todd?
In the past few weeks, we completed a barite ship, 2 rutile ships, unloaded some coke barges for Alcoa, and 2 calcine ships. The city docks, another wind turbine ship worked.
Next.
In the upcoming weeks, we're going to have some more hydrate barges at city docks, and we have about a 10,000-ton Dominican Republic side load ship for bagged milled rice that should be loading. Ship should be here around the 28th, 29th, and then we're looking forward to another Iraqi ship, should be around 40,000 tons. So the warehouses are filling up with rice. We have a coke ship scheduled for this month, and 2 lumber ships in September, and 2 more calcine ships.
Sounds
Yeah,
like you've been busy.
Trying to.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Cargo trade development, Terrence?
Yes, sir. We have one outstanding contract for USDA to bid this week. It's about 11,000 tons. It's not scheduled for delivery till around October, which shouldn't interfere with the 2 rice shipments that Todd mentioned. We are preparing to host the Acadia and Jeff Davis Leadership Excel Group for a presentation and tour of port facilities mid-September. We're also working on new marketing material, videos, and promotional items for the Breakball Conference coming up in Houston, Texas. Thank you.
I have a question, and Terrence, I don't know if this is a question for you or if it's for Todd, or for whoever, actually. I just recently read that KCS is, with another company, is developing what I believe they call a rail port, as part of this. They're trying to get this developed as part of their being targeted for the takeover by one of the Canadian rail companies, and it's going to be apparently located at their Mossville yard, and it's a significant expansion of what they have. Are you familiar with
I'm not
it?
familiar with the only Canadian, I know there's a sawmill being built by Canfor, the Canadian company expanding the old, by the Beauregard Airport. They're spending $160 million on a new sawmill. We've reached out to them, to their British Columbia office, and talked to their global supply chain manager, and also their president of U.S. operations in Atlanta. Their plan is to ship domestically, but he said it's good to know that we have a deep water port so close to that new facility, and that he will come by when he come in this area to view our facility. But I hadn't heard of any rail yard expansion.
The rail yard in Mossville is not only used for Sasol, but it was expanded for the Sasol expansion. And it's very large, so, you know, it's something we can definitely look into to see what their plans are
Well,
with the.
from what I tried to get more information on it, and apparently it's all mainly proprietary.
Yes, sir. Yeah, because of the merger and everything that's going on, I don't think they're letting a lot of information out. But we'll look into it and see what we can find.
What I was able to read made me nervous.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
I'll definitely look into it.
Any other questions? Engineering, maintenance, and development.
Wait,
Nick?
if I could ask one other
Oh,
question.
okay.
Just out of curiosity, because of it, do we barge, do we load anything out on barges from, as far as grain?
As far as grain,
Yeah.
no, sir, we do not. The port does not. IFG has the ability to load barges, and they have loaded a few barges. I know they loaded a corn barge recently, probably to empty their silos, I'm not sure. But that's the only grain that can go out. The only place that can load bulk grain cargoes at city docks is IFG. They have exclusivity on all bulk grain products at city docks. So BT1, we handle a lot of barges, but it's not agricultural products. It's petrochemical products. But
And that's the contamination issue.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Nick?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'm not sure if you can hear me very well, but basically all projects are progressing smoothly. I want to thank the board tonight for approving those two projects. We'll definitely get those going, and they'll help revitalize both BT1 terminal and city docks. Other than that, though, I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Nick. State lobbyist, any?
I don't have any updates other than what they have in our report.
Okay, same on federal. Okay, any other matters that may come before the board? If none,
Motion to adjourn?
if none, I'll entertain a motion for executive session. Moved by Mr. Prudham, seconded by Mr. Darbone. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Is that on the agenda?
All opposed, nay.
Yes,
Aye.
sir.
We're going into executive session.